Welcome to the Bob Fu Report. Again, first headlines about religious persecution in China, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Chinese government registration system in the church so that they can utilize the registration as an excuse to control and destroy the church. First, headline news. The Plainclothes police raid a Chongqing Reformed House Church during a Sunday service. The church members published an urgent prayer request, and we received that just recently. At approximately 10 a.m. on February 28th, several plainclothes police raided Chongqing Living Fountain Church and disassembling the Sunday service and arresting two Christian brothers in the faith. And one of them was the preacher on that Sunday. During the raid and assault, officers confiscated a church computer and forced those attending the church service to leave. And warning, do not come on the grounds again. This church is not registered and there is the potential risk of spreading the COVID-19 virus. So basically, the non-registration or COVID are being employed as an excuse to forbid the church service. The previous week, on February 21st, numerous Chinese CCP agents and government bureaus from the District Religious Affairs Bureau, from Domestic Security Bureau, and United Front Working Department of the CCP and Sub-District Office, as well as a number of plainclothes state security policemen. They showed up at the church during the Sunday service. They requested that the church stop the morning service, stating that the church is not registered. Again, that is used as an excuse. After seeing children in the service, one plainclothes policeman challenged a church member, Did you know that minors are not allowed to enter religious venues? And obviously, as we reported in the past, anybody under 18 years old is going to be forbidden to enter into the church building. So that is a part of the Chinese Communist Party's religious policy, so that no children under 18 is allowed to have access to any religious materials, including the Bible. The second headline news is ChinaAid endorses call to action, calls brands and retailers denounce ties that support the CCP's forced labor system. As we know, the Chinese CCP arbitrarily detains estimated minimum 1 million to 1.8 million Uyghurs and other ethnic Turkic and Muslim individuals, or including the Kazakhs, in mass detention. Authorities enslave and force these Uyghurs and the Kazakhs and other minorities in the labor camp to produce goods that sell throughout the world. So these products are being exported. Then the coalition to end forced labor in the Uyghur region launched the call to action, which calls brands and retailers to denounce ties with suppliers who support China's forced labor systems, from cotton to finished products. And the CCP perpetrates mass human rights abuses that include the mass surveillance, arbitrary detention, forced gun rape and torture, and the political re-education, brainwash, forced sterilization of women and men, and of course forced labor. China produces the following at least 17 products using forced labor, including artificial flowers we bought from Walmart and many other stores, and bricks, Christmas decorations, coal, cotton, electronics, fireworks, fish, footwear, garments, gloves, hair products, nails, textiles, thread and yarn, and tomato products and toys. So remember, when we got a made in China products from Walmart and other retail stores, as long as it says made in China, and many would have come through this forced labor system. And the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, where this modern day concentration camps are being installed, actually produced 78% of China's all cottons. So right now, because of this call for action, many freedom-loving, conscientious consumers in the West, in the free world, are boycotting these products. So these persecutors and their accomplices are hurting, and they actually just in recent days, even with the encouragement by the Chinese Communist Party, filed a lawsuit. These so-called herd companies filed a lawsuit against what? Against a major German researcher. His name is Dr. Zenz, Z-E-N-Z, who is a first-rate scholar who produced a very solid report, basically based on the Chinese government-owned public reports, documenting and showing the genocide of the Uyghurs and Kazakhs and other minorities in Xinjiang, that matched every article of definition of genocide according to the international law. That really angered the Chinese Communist Party. So let's pray for Dr. Zenz and Andrian Zenz that this lawsuit will further expose not only the atrocities, but also the kind of absurdity of the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda. The third headline news I bring this to you is the police raid Chengdu Fountain of Life Church during a Sunday worship service and seize Elder Zha Changping and his wife and 3 other Christians. We just received this news just very recently. During the morning of March 7th, police raided the East Campus of Chengdu Fountain of Life Church during the Sunday worship service. After disrupting the service, and officers seized the transportation, seized the Bibles, seized the computers, and from the Fountain of Life Church. So Fountain of Life Church is one of the earliest founded urban house churches, belongs to the Southwest Parish with Early Rain Covenant Church, led by Pastor Wang Yi. As we know, Early Rain Covenant Church had been under the most heavily persecution in China's northwest province of Sichuan. One former state security officer who converted to Christian faith at this church later resigned to his state job. And during one Christmas event, our reporter even witnessed the former police officer constantly weeping while singing hymns. And we just learned after this read, the next Sunday, basically it's March the 16th or 17th. So while members are engaging a Bible study time, so this Chinese Communist Party Religious Affairs Bureau and state security agents raided the church again. And the pastor and 4 other members are still being held after 7 members were released. And they had been under intensive interrogation. And we were told Pastor and Elder Zha and the other 4 members are facing potential administrative and criminal detention. So the 4th headline, International Federation of Student Sports schedules a 2021 Summer World University Games in Chengdu. And yet, the Chinese Communist Party launches a campaign called Adore Science, Anti-Evil Cult. And this campaign had been used to crack down the unregistered independent churches, Tibetan Buddhists, and Falun Gong practitioners, and of course the Uyghur Muslims too. So on March 12th, we reported the International University Sports Federation, FISU, has scheduled its 31st sports game called the 2021 Summer World University Games on July 18th to July 29th. Actually it's August 18th to 29th in Chengdu, the capital city of Sichuan province, where the Living Fountain Church and Early Rain Covenant Church are being located. Ironically, the CCP officials recently began distributing free T-shirts and aprons embossed with FISU's logo and the slogan "Adore Science, Anti-Evil Cult" in marketplaces and restaurants. So ChinaAid sources confirm that these slogans on these propaganda products support the CCP's increasing suppression of independent religious groups such as house churches, Tibetan Buddhist and Falun Gong practitioners, and certainly the Xinjiang and local Uyghur Muslims. And how can this independent international sports organization conscientiously permit the CCP to use its logo and 2021 World Sports event to promote religious discrimination, suppression, and persecution in China? So this is a question we all need to send a message and ask this organization, and we should hold them accountable. The 5th headline is the victims who tell the backstories of proof of life videos face ever-present CCP retaliation threats. And the Chinese Communist Party launches disgusting campaign to discredit witness of its atrocities. This is a story from Bitter Winter, and it shows the so-called proof of life videos are the latest tactic employed by the CCP to turn the tables on members of the Uyghur diaspora who dare to speak out about the atrocities being meted out on their relatives, friends, and colleagues, trapped in the dark web of the internet and disappearance in Xinjiang Uyghur areas. But the chilling reality, whether they are believed or not, are proof that the CCP is watching not only the exiles, but the ones that are left behind. Regardless of words put into mouths and rehearsed scripts, they are a constant reminder that the next knock on the door will not simply be a camera crew, but a squad of machine-toting police ready to put a bag on your head and march you into oblivion. Basically, for a long time, enforced disappearance during this terrible interrogation time. So the ever-present threat of retaliation is there. So superseding the ever-present threat of CCP retaliation, however, the ever-present comfort Jesus gives through the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. As Hebrew 5 said, "For he himself has said, I will never leave you, nor forsake you." So I hope those friends, brothers and sisters, if you living overseas and being harassed, threatened, or retaliated, wherever you are, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, or European Union countries, please report to the authorities immediately. These CCP informants or spies should not be let free, and they need to be held accountable for their actions against our freedom voices in the free world. So today I want to focus a little bit on this registration system. As we know, inside the Chinese society, especially under the CCP, everything needs to be registered. Not only, of course, your date of birth, like other IDs, even like your pregnancy days, your first trimester, and even I remembered those of my classmates in the high school. Those girls, they have to report to the school's clinic every month. And for boys, we don't know what had happened. But later on, we were told that was a fulfillment to a Chinese Communist Party's so-called national principled policy called family planning policy. It's written in the China's constitution. Family planning. Family planning in China under the CCP does not just mean like the parents want to take some preventive measure for pregnancy. Family planning in China is a state-enforced, controlled, and basically arbitrarily executed policy to register women into their whole national database from the young girl in the junior high school all the way until you are deemed not able to have any children any longer. So every woman, basically from the time of their high school, their wombs belong to the Chinese Communist Party's control. So they have to be subject from registering in the family planning system, and once they are found with illegal pregnancy without permit, then they will be subject for forced abortion. And not only the casualty is this so-called family planning law violators, these women, but also the women's parents, in-laws, and other family members, their neighbors. They all have to sign a covenant to monitor and watch this women for any moment in case she escaped when she was pregnant illegally. So this is just one really tip of the iceberg showing how this registration system works. Because once you are registered in the database, wherever you go, I mean, if you're from countryside or as a farmer, then if you want to hide in the city or a suburb, and as long as you show up in a hospital, and as the first thing is what is your registration card, your yellow card, the pregnancy permit card? Do you have the quota from your village, from your township, from the county? Because the CCP tied this registration system and the quota with the promotion of the government officials, from village party chief or village chief to the administrators of the county, the mayors of the city, and to the Politburo member of the Chinese Communist Party in the central government. So they can relax on some other policy issues, maybe kind of got lazy, but this is the one policy no government official from the bottom up would dare to relax. At one time, in my hometown province of Shandong, this one city, the city's administrator or mayor even launched a policy called 1 month without a child. So childless month, which means during this month, this mayor ordered mobile clinics installed in every corner of the street of the city. Every women and girls have to be brought to these mobile clinics and subject for examination of their birth organs and to check whether they are pregnant or not. No matter you have the permit or not, that month, as long as you are found pregnant, every one of them will had faced the forced abortion. So it's really like the Roman emperor after Jesus was born. Maybe that was the parallel. We can demonstrate it, how cruel it is. 1 month, this one mayor would have killed hundreds of thousands of babies. And 1 month, called 1 month without a child. And because his county was fined for giving excessive birth on the previous year or month, So he was so angry, he would kill all babies in that month. So the whole city was filled with darkness, with cries on every corner of the street in that city, city of Liaocheng. So this, again, the registration to the church is also mandated. Some Westerners confuse the registration of church with our registration with the IRS. Here in the U.S., when we want to start up a church for the purpose of filing a tax exemption, we register. Of course, if you want to register as a non-profit corporation, you first incorporate it in the Secretary of State office. That's purely for a kind of tax purpose. And if you just want to start a church at your home or other locations, you really are not legally obligated to register. But in China, under the Chinese Communist Party, this registered church is mandated, and if you don't register in the Religious Affairs Bureau, in the United Front Work Department, and then at the Communist Party's controlled the TSPM, the Three Self Patriotic Movement, or the Catholic Patriotic Association, or the China's Muslim Patriotic Association, Buddhism Patriotic Association, Taoism Patriotic Association. So these are so-called patriotic. It's just a Communist Party loyalist association. If you don't register with these institutions, you are automatically declared as illegal. And any church, synagogue, or temple would subject to further crackdown from the treatment of what the Living Fountain Church, the Early Rain Covenant Church, and many other churches. You would be subject for any moment of raid or invasion of your home, and to arbitrary arrest, detention. Of course, the leaders, if you are very influential like Pastor Wang Yi, you could face up to 7 years, 9 years, or even 12 years, and 14 years imprisonment for doing that. And if you are registered, then you are also subject for inspection, because registration itself is a symbol of submission. If you don't follow the Communist Party's order to install a picture of President Xi Jinping on the wall of your church, or to make your religion compatible with socialism, or to preach the Communist Party's doctrine instead of the biblical message, then you are subject for the enormous pressure to arbitrary arrest. So we have a lot of stories to tell you about how evil this registration system. Maybe we can do another episode on this. But that's all for today. Remember, as we just mentioned, Hebrew 5, for the Lord himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. No matter what kind of persecution our friends and fellow brothers and sisters in China are experiencing, don't forget that He is the Creator. He is our Savior, and He will also provide, no matter what kind of circumstances we're experiencing, and His providence will always be there, because He promised that He will never leave us nor forsake us. May God continue to bless you. Thank you.